A thought occurred to me while I was watching Godzilla vs. Kong recently. It wasn't, why is there sunlight in Hollow Earth? Or why was Russell from Deadpool 2 in this movie? Don't get me wrong, those are great questions. No, it was, why are conspiracy theorists in movies always right? In Godzilla vs. Kong specifically, Brian Tyree Henry. By the way, I don't remember the names of these characters at all, so I'll just use the actors' names or their more memorable characters, and I'm pretty sure you'll get what I mean. So, Brian Tyree Henry is that classic ultimate conspiracy theorist. He doesn't eat apples because he doesn't trust GMOs, he thinks there's fluoride in the water, he thinks there's a world government run by the Illuminati and lizard people, he also thinks the obviously evil corporation Apex is up to something kooky to do with Godzilla, and it turns out he's actually right about the last one. He's not alone though, the main characters in this movie are like 50% conspiracy theorists. You've got Millie Bobby Brown, who's a huge fan of Paperboy and believes everything he believes, including in showering in bleach to remove organic trackers. Then there's her friend Firefist, who's really just along for the ride, but he's totally willing to buy all the dumb stuff they say. And lastly, you've got one of the Skarsgårds, who believes in the Hollow Earth theory. I don't know why he's a crackpot in this universe, since I'm pretty sure the Hollow Earth thing was totally vindicated back in Skull Island, but whatever, he'd be absolutely insane in the real world. Likewise, it turns out he's right about Hollow Earth and all the gravitational gobbledygook or whatever was going on there. In general, the Monsterverse is based around conspiracy theorists. Remember Bryan Cranston acting as Tidy Whitey's off, screaming about cover-ups and electromagnetic pulses in Godzilla? Or Corey Hawkins talking about Hollow Earth theory and Skull Island like it's a totally rational idea? These movies are led almost entirely by conspiracy theorists. I only started noticing this in Godzilla vs. Kong because of the sheer number of them, and then I realized they were already everywhere in film and TV. Not just conspiracy theorists, but conspiracy theorists that are correct and vindicated by the story. Here's a couple of examples that first came to mind. You've got Woody Harrelson in 2012, who's so weird and kooky with his podcast and RV and love of pickles. The dream. But he's 100% correct that neutrinos, blah blah, some science BS, Yellowstone explodes, and humanity has built a bunch of survival arcs. I don't know why he's so pumped about it, but he is correct. John Goodman in 10 Cloverfield Lane is a complete creep who's probably killed before, and more importantly, has an unreasonable amount of fruit by the foot for a survival bunker. But he thinks there's an alien invasion, and the only safe place is in his bunker. What do you know, as soon as Huntress steps outside, she gets attacked by aliens. I can't remember if Russell from Independence Day was actually abducted by aliens, or even the same aliens that invade, but he's right about the aliens, and then he becomes the hero of the day. Then there's Simmons in Transformers 2. I believe he had one of those Pepe Sylvia walls, but I can't remember exactly what he was talking about, and I don't want to rewatch the movie to find out. The theories don't even need to be remotely feasible. Mike in It Chapter 2 has an ayahuasca trip and believes that it's an alien entity that has to be banished with something called the Ritual of Chud. He's not exactly right, but he's not exactly wrong either. In Unbreakable, Mr. Glass believes that comic books are actually history books, and that if he has brittle bones, then there must be someone out there who is unbreakable. He only has to cause 3 disasters and kill a couple hundred people, and he finds Bruce Willis an indestructible superhero. Even the freaking hot dog guy in The Happening is like, hey, I think it might be the plants, and everyone else rolls their eyes and goes, oh hot dog guy, you so crazy, and then the damn plants kill everybody. Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theory is probably the same, but I'll be totally honest, I've only seen like 5 minutes of it. I mean, Mel Gibson? Let's just assume it does. It's kinda played for laughs with Marty in Cabin in the Woods, where he's convinced that he and his friends are being controlled and surveilled, only it turns out to be true rather than a weed-induced paranoia. To quickly run through the rest, you've got James Spader in Stargate, who believes that ancient aliens made the pyramids and all other cool Egyptian stuff, and he's revealed to be correct. There's Ralph in Friday the 13th, who keeps ranting about a cursed lake where anyone who stays there on the anniversary of Jason's death will die, and while it's not anything mythical in the first film, he is right in that someone will kill them on that night. Marvin in Red is another one of those typical conspiracy theorists who has a bunker off the grid with bottled water everywhere because the government are out to kill him. Guess what? The government is out to kill him. So, examples out of the way, let's talk about why this exists. By now, the conspiracy theorist character is like a commedia dell'arte archetype, a bundle of visual cues and traits that immediately let you know who they are and what their whole deal is. It's a bit of a cheat since it relies entirely on quirks and gets you out of having to write actual 3-dimensional characters. In concept though, they don't always have to be right. They can work in mystery films as a deliberate misdirect, or in a story directly commenting on misinformation. I know what you're thinking. It's fictional, Drew. What's wrong with having ideas that don't exist in the real world? That would eliminate like 80% of fiction. That's boring. You're boring. Well, yes, I am very boring. That's not my issue. I'm totally cool with very smart guy that everyone trusts, saying in a calm, rational manner, "Well shit guys, we've collected a ton of evidence, I've had it peer-reviewed by a number of my well-respected colleagues, and we have no choice but to conclude that aliens exist. Here are all of my findings, like I said, peer-reviewed by scientific colleagues. When do we launch the nukes?" Compare that to,
"The aliens are here and they're gonna probe you. Your neighbors could be aliens. Your dog is probably an alien. Do you want to get probed? This is how you get probed. This is how your dog probes you."
See, they both play the exact same role in the story. They had the same information, they both kick-started the plot, and they both established character. So why do I care? Because the first guy doesn't exist, the second guy does. There's a surplus of genuine idiots in this world who believe the Earth is flat, it's at the center of the universe, and it's also imminently going to be destroyed. Flat Earth people are harmless morons. I'm happy for them to continue to exist so we can mock them. The Enders-Neisters, less so. They're essentially con artists running cults that defraud the vulnerable of their money and their safety. There are also people who believe that Sandy Hook was a hoax, the Holocaust was propaganda, and that Donald Trump is fighting a secret cabal of Satan-worshipping, cannibalistic pedophiles running a global child sex trafficking ring. So do you see why I find it weird that these guys are the source of all truth in film? It's even worse when they don't have all those cliches and they're still right, like in X-Files. The theorist doesn't act manic or look like some kind of hermit, and since they're the protagonist rather than the side character, we're more inclined to sympathize with them. So when basically every episode goes, "Hey Scully, I think it's psychics or aliens or some such. Mulder, that's stupid as hell. Oh yeah, well look at this alien boy I found. Oh no, he dissolved, there's no evidence. Dang it, we'll get it next time." We think, gosh darn it, you'll get him next time, Mulder, and not, wow, this mad boy should definitely not be an FBI agent. In the real world, some people are genuinely evil, no doubt. They'll use a stance of contrariness to manipulate an audience and advance their own platform. Other people have untreated mental illness and are the victims of delusions.
I'm disturbed! We're disturbed! We're disturbed! We're the most disturbed!
Other people are just idiots using the Galileo gambit, a logical fallacy that asserts that
We ain't no delinquents, we're misunderstood!
Galileo was laughed at and persecuted for his scientific observations, but later proved to be right. Therefore, since I am ridiculed and persecuted in my time, I must be proved right in future as well. So you may as well believe me now. Either way, in the real world, they're no good.
He's no good! I'm no good!
The landscape has changed, and while these characters may have been funny and harmless once upon a time, now when I see one, I just think of the millions of Alex Jones fans believing his madness, or the ones that stormed Capitol Hill and murdered people, or the swarm of Russian bots sharing misinformation across social media. So yeah, I love X-Files and 10 Cloverfield Lane and half the other stuff I listed off, but they existed before a moron was elected president on a platform of fear-mongering and misinformation. These characters are still in films being produced today, and it honestly weirds me out. I don't care if an evil corporation is making a giant robot to kill a giant lizard who's trying to kill a giant ape. Just have the guy who figures it all out not be completely insane. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Don't bother leaving a comment if you disagree with me. I'll just assume it's a mass conspiracy on behalf of Hollywood producers to convince me that I'm wrong. If you like this stuff and want to try out something different, we have a music channel and a gaming channel. Links in the description below. Thanks again.